Brilliant. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Colin Moore from Evac+Chair. So what I'm here to do today is just talk about the Risky Business campaign we currently have an offer for you. So what we actually did was we canvassed 490 SME businesses, and some of the findings that came out of that are actually quite horrific. So I'm just going to talk through some of those things here today. I understand we are running slightly behind, so I'll try and get through it as quickly as possible. There are quite a lot of slides. If you don't capture enough of the information, you can come and grab a card off us and you can download the actual presentation, or we've got some hard copies on our desk, so come and grab one of those if you need to. So without hesitation, let's get through it. So just a little bit about Evac+Chair, who we are and what we do. So we've been operating now for 40 years as the world leaders in what we do. We manufacture up in Solihull in Birmingham. So we manufacture everything in the UK. We are the original and best, an independent clinical study by Greenwich University. Ed Gallia, I don't know if anyone's had the pleasure of actually meeting Ed, fantastic guy, leading expert in evacuation. He stated and concluded that evacuation chairs were the safest and quickest solution to assist mobility impaired in an evacuation. We've got a wide product range providing evacuation solutions for every type of staircase and personal requirement. Evac+Chairs are strong, lightweight, and include a number of features to make them comfortable and easy to operate. So just to go into the actual Risky Business campaign. So as I said, we conducted a survey, 490 SMEs. The findings, so the number one is the awareness of legal responsibilities is extremely limited. The culture of non-compliance is a common. Temporary or visibility mobility challenges are often disregarded for emergency evacuation plans. Safety and survival in emergency is often being left to chance. That should never happen under any circumstances. So currently, in the year 20 to 21, there were 14.6 million people in the UK who reported a disability. More than 4.8 million are in employment in the workplace, and this figure is rising, and quite rightly so. Buildings are way more accessible now, and that's the way it should be. So we shouldn't be excluding anybody from the workplace with any kind of disability. 70% of those people living with any form of disability, they're actually invisible. The disability is invisible. We'll talk about that throughout the presentation. We also found that there's lots of ambiguity around emergency evacuation. People just don't understand what they're actually supposed to do and what's involved. Regulation is quite often outdated. We all know lots of the regulations. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit. Some of them are very outdated. The needs of people that experience access barriers are falling by the wayside. Our world is changing, and so are the risks. Some of the things we face on a daily basis are chemical spillages, power outages, floods, and obviously the most prolific one is fire. So we need to understand the risks and how to prepare for them. So some of the risks, I'll just flash through them now. So fire, false alarms, hazardous substances, natural disasters, terrorism, loss of power, health emergencies, and lift failure. I think we all know what's entailed in those things, so I'm not going to embellish on those. So who might face these access barriers? So users of permanent mobility aids that might face access barriers can include, obviously, wheelchair users is the most common one. We go to any building, we'll see that symbol on the car park, disability parking space. And that's pretty much what everyone mostly thinks about disabilities. Even in a wheelchair, it's not always the case. The people with walking aids, people with prosthetic limbs, amputees, and obviously the age people are working a lot longer to reap benefits of pensions, etc., etc. So some people are working into the 70s, and in emergency evacuation, you really might need to assist those kind of people as well. People with temporary mobility impairments that might face access barriers can include injuries, pregnant women at workplace. Again, lots of pregnant ladies stay at work a lot longer to, again, reap the benefits of the maternity package that's offered to them, and quite rightly so. Again, if you're pregnant, you really want to be running downstairs in an emergency, risk of falling, hurting yourself and hurting the baby. Recovery from surgery and panic attacks. So individuals with invisible health conditions and mobility impairments can include mental health. We all know about mental health. It's in the spotlight right now, quite rightly so. It should be. Illness and generally feeling unwell at work can happen to anybody at any time. Learning difficulties such as not being able to read properly. Can you read the signs? Do you understand the signs? Hearing loss or visual loss. Again, you're going to need some kind of assistance to get out of the building safely. What access barriers could people face in the event of an emergency? So a couple of little case studies here. So Sarah works in a 15-storey office building as a receptionist. She's a wheelchair user and followed a car accident in her early 30s, resulting in severe spinal cord injury. She needs to avoid sudden movements and uses a mobility aid. So she's a full-time wheelchair user. So you need to build a proper full-term Peep for that person. Put the right equipment in place, correct people to operate the equipment, etc., etc. Atif works in a five-storey boutique hotel. He plays football every week and recently broke his leg during a match. He'll be on crutches and doing injury rehabilitation for 6 to 8 weeks, a temporary Peep returning from an injury. Again, you need to have the correct equipment in place and the proper people trained to operate it. Mark, age 21, Mark's company office is based on the 18th floor of a 25-storey building. He takes medication for a mental health condition. It can cause periods of anxiety, disorientation and forgetfulness. His medication may pose a risk of him being delayed in emergency evacuation. And again, Mark might not make that common knowledge to people. He might want to keep that to himself. A lot of people don't like to share this information. So again, special consideration must be taken. So our research highlights a clear link between a lack of awareness and a lack of preparedness. 22% of decision makers have only some understanding of their obligations around evacuation, while 7% have very little understanding at all. 27% of decision makers do not have someone solely responsible for evacuation. 19% of decision makers say their safety plan does not consider temporary mobility impairments. And most shockingly of all, 1 in 10 businesses aren't prepared at all to evacuate disabled or mobility impaired members of the staff. So if you look at the 490 SMEs that we actually canvassed, do a quick number crunch on that, that's 49 people, or 49 businesses. If there's only one person in those 49 businesses, that's 49 people at risk every single day. And they're our family members, there could be our children, that could be our parents, our brothers, sisters, our wives, husbands. So that's horrific, that shouldn't be happening. So just a couple of slides here, some real stories from some real people. Hopefully that audio will play.
I had a horrible experience with my fire evacuation process at university. When the alarm went off, I went to the refuge point at the top of the stairs, rang the number, and nothing. I was given another number that put me through to another campus in another town before being told someone would come, but they didn't. All my classmates were ushered out. A few lads even offered to help me, but weren't allowed. I was there for ages until everyone was brought back in. If it wasn't a drill, I would have been left to burn. My mum and I actually took the complaint to the top.
That's horrific. So obviously the procedures were put in place, the Peep was built, the equipment may have been there, etc., but it wasn't actually followed through properly. So that's quite a harrowing experience for the young lady involved, and also for the people that tried to help. They were told they weren't allowed to help. So again, the after effects for those people again could be quite harrowing.
I'm a wheelchair user and secured a job as a trainee in a law firm. As it was early stages in my career, I was less confident around how to approach the building managers about access barriers and evacuations. I kept my head down and didn't query it, putting trust in the building manager and the team. They assured me my personal emergency evacuation plan addressed that they would assist me in the event of an emergency. But when the time came to test the plan, we realised they'd assumed I could transfer myself from the wheelchair into an evacuation chair. I'm unable to stand or weight bear. I ended up having to drive the conversation and could sense their discomfort talking about my needs.
Again, that's another classic case of the procedures were put in place. They were never tested. If you're going to put procedures in place, you must test them thoroughly and rigorously. Just pay lip service to it, right, basically. So again, a horrific case. And that was the last one, sorry. So 67% of decision makers think there is a culture of businesses not complying with or looking for loopholes in fire safety. It's disgraceful. 43% of disabled people avoided sharing information about health or disability due to perceived impact on their career. 41% feel they will be judged or made to feel like an outsider. That study was conducted by Samsung. So that's going back to that other case study where the chap takes medication. Did he actually tell people? Did he think it was going to affect his career? So, yeah, we need to make people more comfortable at work. So the legal landscape, I'm not going to rattle through any of these. So the regulations that do exist, are they fit for purpose? Obviously, there's a number of the regulations that we all currently know and sort of live our lives by and work to. I'm not going to go through all those, obviously, because I'm going to get a shepherd's crook and dragged off the stage. So your legal duties as an employer. What are your responsibilities as an employer? So under the RRO 2005, amended by the Fire Safety Act 2021, are to ensure your premises reach required standards, provide employees with safety training, induction training, covering general fire awareness. Extra training may be needed if the level of risk increases, supporting employees to meet their fire safety duties. Your legal duty, again, a number of acts there that we must all comply to on a daily basis. And if we don't, obviously then there's penalties and enforcements, and they can be very heavy fines that can put small businesses out of action completely. So businesses must consider who may be especially at risk, employees or visitors and/or visitors. Provide information to employees and any other people on the premises. Emergency routes and exits must be taken into consideration. How to reduce the risk of fire as is reasonably practicable. Create a fire evacuation plan to deal with an emergency. Maintenance of fire detection and warning systems and firefighting equipment. Keeping any findings of the fire risk assessment under review. And additional measures must be taken where there's a use or storage of dangerous substances. So recording evacuation plans, Peeps and Jeeps. So recording evacuation pages, Peeps and Jeeps, repeating myself. Compliance with fire safety regulations in commercial settings relies on the following being devised by a nominated responsible person. Personal emergency and evacuation plan, we all know it's a PEEP, is tailor-made to secure safety and a specific person in the event of an emergency evacuation. It must be drawn up with the individual so that the method of evacuation can be agreed. And then you've got the general PEEP, the Jeep, which is a more capsule evacuation process for any building. Again, I'm not going to rattle through that. Who's responsible for the PEEP? Nominated responsible person is accountable for the PEEP. The duty cannot be delegated to another person and will always remain a duty of the responsible person. It's expected that responsible person actively encourages employees and visitors to come forward if they require a PEEP. How can we overcome access barriers? So some of the equipment that can be used is, obviously the most common is the evacuation chair. The powered evacuation chair for ascending from basements, etc. A horizontal evacuation chair for just horizontal evacuation, no stairs involved. Rescue and evacuation mats, most commonly used in hospitals and care homes for horizontal progression, and evacuation sheets obviously attached to the bed mattress and the whole thing comes out. So the fight to keep all people safe in evacuations, call for action. So 68% of respondents think that fire safety legislation does not go far enough. 82% are calling on the government to provide more clarity on the roles and responsibilities of businesses when it comes to fire safety. 67% of our respondents believe that having an evacuation chair should be a legal requirement. Our ask is clear. Despite the warning signs and existing legal frameworks, positive change is unlikely without further legislative action. We're calling on the government to do two things. Mandate evacuation equipment of any kind in every multi-storey building. Cultures better educate organisations and responsible persons to understand their liabilities, risks and obligations. Our findings do not just speak to businesses there, but every organisation or individual responsible for building of 2 storeys or above. It's crucial that the true safety for all rises up the agenda and puts stop to risky business. There we go. Clawed back a few minutes there for you, Alan. How's that?